Hey everybody, how are you? So if you watch any right-wing MAGA media, which I unfortunately have to do, you might be under the impression that Biden is a brutal dictator turning America into a banana republic. You certainly say it often enough. But if you want to know what somebody really thinks, you can't always rely on a straight answer. Unfortunately, people lie. If you really want to know what they think, though, look at what they choose to do, especially when the chips are down. The fact is that Trump knows damn well that Biden is no tin pot dictator. In fact, he's counting on it. Trump's been using the legal system as a way to cover his criminality for decades, because he knows that the good guys have to follow rules and laws and procedures and evidence and all that other boring stuff he doesn't give a damn about. Plenty of people on the left would have wanted Biden to send a bunch of big burly guys to Trump's door on January 21st of 2021 to have him hauled off straight to jail. But Biden, or more specifically his DOJ under Merrick Garland, did not do that. They had to wait for things like an investigation and gathering evidence and all those other inconvenient things that the rule of law requires. Trump knows this better than anybody, and his recent behavior proves it. Just recently, one of his lawyers was seriously making the claim, in court, that unless the president had been formally impeached, convicted, and removed in both the House and Senate, he would be immune from any legal prosecution for anything he did while in office. That includes, very specifically because the judge asked this, ordering SEAL Team 6 to go all bin Laden and his political opponents. In case the lawyer wasn't enough, Trump himself repeated his claim of absolute immunity in a Truth Social post, and I've got links to all of that below. Of course, this was in all caps because Trump doesn't understand punctuation any more than he understands legislation. Now, leave aside the fact that this argument is completely ridiculous. Impeachment is a political process, not a legal one, and several senators, including Mitch McConnell, voted against impeachment of Trump specifically because they said Trump would get his due from the criminal justice system. I think this case shows about what's really going on in Trump's brain. Biden is the sitting president. If Trump's argument were to get any headway, what he'd be doing is essentially putting a gun in Biden's hand and pointing it straight at his own orange skull. He is making the case that Biden would be completely in the clear for having him whacked, so long as he could get 34 senators on his side to oppose conviction on impeachment, which he does currently have. It's 50 Democrats in there. The reason why Trump is doing this is really quite simple. He knows that Biden would never do something like that. He knows Biden isn't going to break the law to go after him because Biden isn't a dictator. In Trump's mind, Biden is a beta male cuck slave to things like laws and integrity and all of that other stuff that's actually kept this American experiment in democracy chugging along for 250 years, all of which Trump plans to end because he's smart. Just like Hezbollah is smart, and Kim Jong-un is smart, and Putin is smart, with smart in this case being completely devoid of shame or moral backbone. Speaking of Trump's friend Vladimir from Moscow, there's another guy who you need to judge by his actions rather than his words. There's an unfortunate crossover between people who are attracted to Trumpism in the US and people who admire Putin overseas. One of the most common things I hear from Putin apologists is that his invasion of Ukraine wasn't really an imperialist genocidal attempt to try to reconquer some of the most agriculturally productive territory of the former Soviet Empire, but in reality was a defensive measure to prevent NATO from encroaching on Russian territory. Okay, fine. But if Putin is so terrified of evil, scary NATO invading Russia, then why has he been stripping forces from the Russian territory that is actually closest to NATO borders, and instead sending them to die in ditches in Ukraine? The answer isn't complicated, people. Putin knows damn well that NATO has no intention of invading Russia, just like Trump knows damn well that Biden won't be ordering his assassination even if he were allowed to. Both Putin and Trump know one thing better than almost anyone: how to use their shamelessness and immorality to manipulate and take advantage of people who are actually trying to uphold certain values, even if they don't always succeed. They know that their enemies are trying to be the good guys, and that's how they get an edge on us. But that doesn't mean we give up the fight, and it doesn't mean we act like them. We must hold tight to our values, to democracy and the rule of law. We cannot allow ourselves to become like our enemies. But we don't have to listen to them when they're bullshitting us either. Till next time, everybody.